What does anxiety mean to you?
I find this question really difficult sometimes. 'Cause it means there's so much it can mean.
Anxiety means worrying, feeling scared, feeling cautious.
Anxiety is a heightened state of nervousness or an exaggerated feeling of scaredness, one that is an overreaction in your physical body and your mental state towards your environment.
To me, anxiety means all the unpleasant thoughts and sensations that you experience that are not perhaps justifiable by a rational mind, be it racing heartbeat, tremors, chest pain, breathlessness, and all the other irrational thoughts that cross your mind and make you feel anxious.
Anxiety means a loss of the ability to control my rational thoughts, and it is an overwhelming feeling.
To me, it would be a series of worries that I just can't stop thinking about, and it just makes it so they make it more difficult for you to do your day-to-day tasks.
For me, anxiety is a state of mind and body that eats away at you.
Anxiety to me is worrying about the smaller details, worrying about things I don't need to worry about.
I can perhaps overthink a situation and keep playing that over and over in my mind and become increasingly nervous and worried about a situation or somebody or something.
Sweating, fast speech, sickness, you can't sleep, struggle to sleep, headaches, tension headaches, sickness, struggle doing everyday things. It's just an absolute nightmare, really.
Mainly a lot of wasted time that I've been worrying and overthinking when I could have been doing a lot more things that I enjoy.
What is a panic attack?
A panic attack is when you're completely overcome by anxiety and it gets way, way too much.
A panic attack is sort of a state of heightened stress. Everything's overwhelming and it feels like you're falling down a hole and you can't quite get out.
A panic attack is a physical response to emotional and psychological overload.
A panic attack is when the anxiety overflows, everything on becomes too much, and it's terrible.
To me, a panic attack is when anxiety gets too much and the momentum builds and builds and builds.
A panic attack can be quite scary, and it is a very extreme state of being scared. It is a heightened state of anxiety.
You start sweating, but at the same time you feel really cold. You don't know what to do. It completely stops you in your tracks and you can't really operate.
My first panic attack came when I was 15 and it was out of blue. It was an uncontrollable episode of fear and panic with a bout of heart palpitations. And although it eventually passed away, but it left me within a never-ending fear of having similar panic attacks in the future.
A panic attack is often related to anxiety, and it would often happen when the anxiety becomes so much that you're struggling to the degree that you may be hyperventilating. You may feel like something physical is going to happen, like you're going to die, or like you're going to be physically ill, or like you are going to pass out.
My breathing becomes laboured and I find it really difficult to take air in, and I breathe faster as well.
Because anxiety can be around about a borderline manageable level for a long period of time, but a panic attack is a short, intense burst of anxiety.
My personal panic attacks, I think, are when I'm in a really anxious situation. I go really lightheaded and I vomit, and that's my own personal panic attack.
I know they're only temporary, but I do feel that they are, in the moment, they feel like they will never end.
Your brain just goes on this massive journey in the space of a couple of seconds. It's really horrible. I get quite emotional, which I think a lot of people do during a panic attack. It's just not very nice. It's so hard to describe because I think it's so different for so many people, but it's just a really horrible anxiety related experience.
What symptoms of anxiety do I experience?
Well, I think I've experienced all of them.
Sweating, fast speech, struggle eating.
The main ones are I'm completely adrenaline fueled all of the time, so 24/7 I feel like I'm having that adrenaline rush that you get when you're running in a sprint race or if you're really excited for something, but it's not a nice kind of excited. It just feels really, really draining, tiring and horrible.
They actually do change over time. As years go by, different things happen. I never used to get attention to things, but I do now.
I personally think that the symptoms that are most present for me are the negative thought processes. So overthinking, catastrophizing, having intrusive thoughts, just really thinking the worst case scenario about it.
I get sweaty hands. I get very sensitive to sound, to light, to lots of people. I don't want to be around lots of people. I want to be left on my own.
I experienced many symptoms like racing heartbeat, tremors in hands, tingling sensation in hands and feet, not being able to concentrate, and breathlessness, and feeling disconnected from reality. I feel as if something bad is about to happen and I feel danger to my life.
I feel very anxious. Generally in the middle of the night I wake up and I could be clenching my fists or clenching my jaw, and then I'll think of some situation and I will just blow it out of all proportion, and I will worry and not be able to get back to sleep.
The biggest symptom for me in anxiety is anxiety can become a panic attack.
I may worry about a normal feeling, so if I get a bubble in my stomach I may think, oh no, I'm going to throw up, when it's just a normal bubble in my stomach or things like that. So what I tend to do is every little thing is excelled and every little worry is excelled to being a big worry.
Obsessive compulsive symptoms, so checking or doing things in numbers of 4, and I have panic attacks.
More so overthinking situations, predicting things before they happen, just a heightened awareness of where I am, what I'm doing, how I'm feeling. It's more so that just overthinking in general is the sort of symptoms that I have in anxiety.
What does a panic attack feel like? I think it feels like something different for everyone. No one's experience will be the same, even though there will be similarities.
To me, a panic attack feels like I'm going to die. I know I'm not going to die, but I do feel like I'm going to die.
So for me, a panic attack just hits you kind of out of nowhere. It's a slow build up, so you're constantly worrying about something, and then you're just overcome with so much anxiety that it just completely gets to you. You can't operate at all. So once I've been sitting as a passenger in a car and I'm worrying about nothing in particular, just about lots of different little things, and my partner had to stop the car, pull over, and I just had to literally walk away from the situation, even though the situation had nothing to do with my anxiety. It was just a build up in my head.
For me, like losing control of your own body in some way. I may be starting to breathe fast, may have a fast heartbeat, may feel like something physically is wrong with you. You may start to hyperventilate, and you may not feel in control of what your body is doing at that moment.
For me, panic attack feels like a sudden uncontrollable episode of fear and panic where your reason overrides your feelings and you get a sense of an impending doom. You feel usually exhausted after a panic attack and feel emotionally drained.
I felt like I was having difficulty with my breathing, so I do deep breaths just to try and get past that. I get very emotional, I start crying, which I think is quite normal, and it's it's horrible. It feels like you're in no control of your body at all.
So, well, some of the physical symptoms that I might feel is shaking. I will get breathless, my heart will go. I will also feel like I have a temperature, so I'll get very hot and I'll try and cool myself down. I will also get pins and needles all over my body, and my body will be very tense. And if it's a long panic attack, it can be quite painful. Then after the panic attack passes, I often feel very, very tired, as if I've just run cross country.
The panic attack, you just feel real panic. Me personally, I feel real panicky, go really lightheaded, and I vomit. It's not like I'm actually being sick. It's just a little bit, but it's just really not nice, and I panic about finding a toilet.
It comes from the centre of your stomach and it rises up in your chest, and there doesn't seem to be any way to stop that from reaching up into your face and your neck and your head, and then you overbreathe and hyperventilate and generally just feel totally out of control of your own body, and it is very scary.
For me personally, a panic attack feels just like a big haze just going over my body. I get a real intense tightness in the back of my throat. Feels like my throat's closing in. Really bad heart palpitations. It feels just like my body wants to shut down, and it feels just like I'm falling down a hole that I can't quite escape. Everything gets really overwhelming, and I struggle hearing what's around me, and I just feel overall really trapped in general.
I always describe it as being that feeling when you're underwater, you're swimming underwater and you're running out of breath and you feel desperate and despair, and you're going to die, and it's horrible.
I worry that other people are looking at me. I feel like other people are staring at me. I feel like the world is ending, all because of how I'm feeling. The biggest thing for me is I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's the worst thing, is nausea. And I tell myself I'm not good enough, and the time feels like it's moving really slowly. So you feel like everything is happening around you, and the time that you're feeling panicked is moving at a snail's pace. It feels like it's moving really slowly.
How do you manage anxiety? Well, I have tried many ways, and from my experience, I think that merely communicating your feelings to someone about merely communicating about your feelings and emotions has also helped a lot to manage my anxiety.
I don't think too far in advance. I try and look at the day I have ahead instead of a week I have ahead. I try not to focus too much on conversations I've had with people. I try not to focus too much on situations that I've got coming up or places that might trigger me. And I try and go into places that might trigger me with a positive outlook. So I try to feel positive and feel confident when I go somewhere that I might be uncomfortable.
Going towards creative outlets such as drawing or video making or something creative where I can really express myself and get my feelings out, and something that's really distracting, because I find if I'm focusing on something and something that's creative, for example a drawing, all my energy goes on that, so it's almost like I haven't got time to think about my anxieties or any thoughts that are going into my mind, or it's all consuming, so it really distracts me, and that's overall how I manage my anxiety.
Actually, what helps me is doing exercise. I hate exercise, as you can tell by my size, but actually once I've exercised I do feel a lot calmer. Avoiding drinking alcohol. I've noticed if I drink wine or gin or anything like that, then the night that I drink that, then I tend to wake up and then be worried about things, and possibly the next day I might feel low. Obviously that doesn't help with anxiety.
Personally, I've had some therapy when I was younger. I had cognitive behavioural therapy, which is a type of talking therapy really, but I've also had some different types of therapies and hypnotherapy, which is something that I found very, very useful.
Also, eating healthily. I know these are all things that the doctors say you should do, but actually they have really helped me. Keeping a cleaner diet, low in sugar, sensible fats, vegetables, what have you. It's definitely helped me with my anxiety.
Well, I feel like I've tried lots of different things, but I always come back to the same one. So for me, it's doing exercise, making sure I get out and about. I love my running, so I make sure I do that because it burns off the adrenaline that I have. It makes you feel good, you get fit in the process. Breathing really helps me. A lot of people have spoken to me about this before, and I've only just started doing it over the last couple of months. Breathing in the shower, so using the Wim Hof technique. Maybe look him up because it's quite a long explanation, but basically 4 second breaths in and 4 second breaths out in a cold shower really helps me for a couple of minutes. And last but not least, the biggest one of all is to speak to people about how you're feeling, because once you've got it off your chest, it really helps. You might actually be helping out somebody in the process because they might be struggling too. So speaking about my anxiety has really helped me over the last couple of years.
Over the time, I've just worked out a way of if there's a situation coming up or something, how to manage the anxiety the best I can. Sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it does. So that's how I do it.
I always think with anxiety, anxiety is really just worries, many different worries, and some things are good to worry about. If you've got things to do at work which you're worrying that it's not going to go right, that's a normal thing to worry about. If you're going to go somewhere and it's something new and you've never experienced it before, then it's a normal worry. If you're going to do something which is a scary experience, then that's a normal worry. But little worries then start to affect your life when you haven't got a lot to worry about. So in some ways we need something to worry about that is a normal worry. So trying to keep busy is a good thing, because being worried about things which you're supposed to be worried about is not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
I learned some tapping techniques. So kind of a relaxation technique. It's about tapping through different areas on your body and reassuring yourself and challenging your thoughts and feelings. That's something that's helped me to manage my anxiety. But I think another thing that has really helped me manage my anxiety is exploring and really challenging my irrational thought patterns, which have been the most difficult part of anxiety. Challenging and getting to understand what makes me anxious.
And what I would say about worrying or anxiety is, if you worry about something too much, you put yourself through it twice. So try not to worry about something if you don't need to worry about it. And it's easier said than done. But if you worry too much, you do put yourself through something twice. And you could worry too much and actually what you were worrying about was absolutely fine.
What would be your top tip on getting through a panic attack?
I think really importantly here, first off, is you are allowed to be scared during a panic attack. It's okay for you to feel frightened, because it is a really terrifying experience, especially if it's something new to you as well. If it's still scary years on after dealing with anxiety and having a panic attacks, but when it's something new and you don't know what's going on and it's very unfamiliar to you, it's okay to be scared.
Focus on your breathing. Breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth. That really helps me.
Just breathe in and out. You can get apps which give you for free, which give you breathing exercises.
Just to focus on something. So even if it's like looking at your trainers or looking at your hands or looking at something surrounding you, just focus on one particular object and take it in, describe it in your head, think about that one object rather than being overwhelmed by everything that's going on, everything that you're thinking. Literally just focus on something and keep breathing. Make sure you keep breathing, because that's the main thing when you're having a panic attack. You forget to breathe, and it makes it worse. So those would be the two things that I'd advise.
I manage panic attacks by humming. It's really interesting that if you sing or you hum to yourself or distract yourself, it does work. It does distract you from having one. So if I'm feeling anxious, I will start humming to myself. And humming is very normal. Everyone does it all the time. So if you start humming to yourself or singing to yourself, that will distract your brain from the symptoms you're feeling.
What I found was on YouTube a video of a guy counting and talking, and I focused on his voice, and then I knew if I was going to have a panic attack, because I could feel it coming on, that I would put this video on straight away. And then the breathing and the counting sort of brought me back into myself and helped me to control the anxiety and the panic attack that was about to take over my body.
If you speak to a therapist or an expert, they would often say try and imagine yourself in a happy place. So for lots of people that might be imagine yourself on the beach, or imagine yourself playing sport or watching TV at home or whatever. What I find useful is to imagine myself doing something that I would enjoy doing, even if that is not something I've ever done. What I have done, for example, is in my mind I've created a completely fictitious football career, which I've never had. What it does is then I imagine a scenario where I'm a retired footballer and someone is interviewing me about the brilliant players that I've played with. You know, so I might think, oh, I've played with this player, and oh, I played with this player, and this player is the best player I played with. And I'm almost being interviewed about this fake football career. So my top tip would be to use your imagination to create a scenario within your brain which is a comfort scenario, and then when you start thinking about it, it's almost like distracting your mind by thinking about something which you enjoy thinking about.
My top tip is finding something that's going to distract you, whether that be, like I said before, a creative outlet or be a grounding technique. I found grounding techniques are really a really clever tool. For example, really focusing on what your body's doing, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can touch. They're really good at distracting you and getting you back to reality rather than spiralling into a worse panic attack.
Focus your attention on someone else. So if you're speaking to someone in a social situation, ask them questions. Talk to them about any subject possible. Doesn't matter, just show you're really interested in them, and that will take the attention off you and will distract you from thinking about the panic attack. I believe that panic attacks are enhanced by when you know you're having one. So, and you're not supposed to ignore a panic attack, but by focusing your attention on something else will hopefully distract you from the symptoms you're experiencing and calm you down.
Personally, if I went outside in the garden or anywhere and just walked, I find walking does help.
My top tip for getting through a panic attack would be to deal with the irrational thoughts that are feeding into your panic attack or your panic loop. Because there's two ways really of getting to deal with a panic attack. You can, there's your mental state and your physical state, and you can try and tackle your physical state first and bring that anxiety down so that your mental anxiety will come down with it, or you can tackle your mental anxiety first, and then as that dissipates, so will your physical symptoms.